Hello, this is Rob from Rims Models, and this is my second update of the MINIART TIRAN 4. Here I carry on construction of the interior. This is the interior bulkhead. There's about 5 parts to glue on this. Pretty straightforward. One of them's a piece of photo etch. All these pieces and fitting are the same colour. All that's a different colour is the fan. There's a little fan that goes in there. So I'll paint that and then glue it in after. And it's all the interior is the same colour as well. So that's that part done. Now this here is a little compressor, and there's 2 holes and there's 2 pins, so it's keyed. It'll only go on one way. And I'll just put a bit of glue in the 2 holes, squeeze it together, then I can hold it with my tweezers and then run the glue around the edges. There's no problems with the fit. There's a little bit of sanding to do once I've finished it. You don't actually see me doing that. I'll do that off camera. This is the end. There's only one end to glue on, and again it's keyed. There's like a little flat piece at the bottom, and then there's a flat piece on the bit you're gluing, so you can only get it one way again. Now this pipe here is a different colour, but I actually glue it in position and then I'll paint it once I've painted the main colour. It'll just be a bit easier to paint it with the brush, and to be honest with you, you're not going to see it anyway. There's 3 pipes to glue on all together. There's only the one that's the different colour. Now this is a little pipe that comes out and it goes into the floor on the lower hull, but I fit it, dry fit it onto the floor, and then I'll manoeuvre the pipe into the hole. There's like a hole on the lower hull, and then when it dries in, I know it's in the right position. And then this is the handle I've just put on. This is the actual belt, and that's a different colour, but again it's easier to paint it when it's all fitted. Pretty straightforward construction. There's a handle to fit as well. Okay, so it is a nice little assembly, this. And again I'll spray it all the same colour, and then I'll brush paint the different colours in. That's another pipe it's fitting on, but the one end where the pipes go, you're not going to see it anyway, because they actually go through the bulkhead into where the engine is. So once it's all in, you're not going to see it. Now there is a seam. I've left a seam, but it's underneath, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now I'm actually starting the painting, and all this is the primer, and I do out of XF1, which is Tamiya, the Tamiya black. And what I'm going to do is a bit of pre-shading. Okay, and this is all the parts are all primed in the black. There's the parts that aren't, I'll show you when we get to it. But make sure you work it around, keep moving the piece around, so you're getting it from every angle. Like so. I'm spraying about 20 psi, and the black's thinned about 60% paint, 40% thinners, I'd say. Now them 2 parts that are sticking out there on the sides, that's that's the racks to put the shells in, but I paint all them separate, and then there's like little bits that go on the end to stop the shells coming out, so I'll fit them after, because you can't get the shells in. But again, all black, the same colour, the XF1. But keep moving it around, getting it from all angles. Okay, this is the lower hull. Now the brass parts, the photo etch parts, I've used the Mr. Hobby metal primer, and all you do is paintbrush it on. You can airbrush it, but I always paintbrush it, and it dries flat. You don't get no brush marks in it, and it's really quick drying as well. Now don't worry about them holes where I've drilled out, because you're not going to see them. Once the top part's glued on, you're not going to see it. And all I'm doing is just spraying the inside, and then if I do get any overspray on the joints where you glue together, all I do is get a knife, scrape it off, so you can glue the parts together then. But this, the floor piece and the two sides are all, and the bulkhead is all the same colour. And then all I've got to do then is a bit of brush painting on the ends of the driver's handles. That's all the parts primed in the XF1. There you got your torsion bars, the sides, the floor, there's the seats, all ready for the colour. That's the floor piece done. Right, if you're not familiar with MINIART instructions, the numbers in the grey boxes, that's the paint numbers. And then all you do then is flick it over to the back. So if it says 17 in the box, just flick down to 17, and then you'll pick then what company you want to use. I'm using Tamiya. And then with your colours, the actual name of the colours. Now this is the main colour, which is XF25, so everything is sprayed in this colour. And what I've done, I've thinned it quite a lot. I'd say it's about 50-50 mix. I don't know exactly. And then all I do then is go over lightly, and then I'll build it up in the middles then. Just keep moving it around, making sure you get it from every angle. You don't want no black showing through. It's all the same colour as well. All I've got to do is detail the straps and that on them parts. And then what I'm doing is going a bit heavier in the middles. So you're just building the paint up. So you want to leave all the edges the darker colour, and then just build up the middles and the high points. And it's the same mix, I ain't changed nothing. So I'll just go a bit heavier, but build it up lightly. See, I'm working it, I keep moving it around, making sure I get it from every angle. And you can actually see the effect I'm trying to get. So it is pre-shaded, and I'll do that on over all of it. Same with the floor, just go lightly over, making sure you leave some of the black showing through, and then go a bit heavier then in the middles. But once you do a wash over that as well, it makes it stand out really good. Well, there you can see now I'm just going a bit heavier now. We'll try and just get it in the middles and all the high points. it is a good effect. But again, I'm only spraying about 20 psi, and it's a 0.2 needle. So just all you do is just go over lightly first, and then go a bit heavier then. And exactly the same here as well. But most of that you're not going to see anyway, because it's going to be covered by the floor. Well, it's a good place to have a practice. Now see, I've gone a bit heavy again, but I'm not flooding it. Just build it up slowly, because all you'll do, you'll just end up getting runs, because it's really how thin the mix is. It'll run, and you could get spider legs as well. Okay, so you see I'm doing all the high points, all the middles. Well, like I said as well, don't worry about them holes there, because you're not going to see it. You could fill them in if you wanted to, but I don't think there's any need to. And because I'm fitting the dozer blade, I've had to put them on. Right, this is the engine now, and it's XF56, which is steel. So all apart from the tops, all of it's the same colour, and then there's a pipe on the end, which will be green. But I'll do that with the paintbrush again. With everything else, I'll paint separate and then glue it all together. But keep moving it around, making sure you get it from every angle. Them top parts then I'll mask off when it's dry, and then I'll paint them. It's like a brown colour. XF64 it is. So just keep moving it around, making sure you've got it. So that's the main part of the engine done. Right, this is that XF65 now. So all the green parts I'll paint with that colour. So I think this is a first aid box. I'm not sure what it is, but it was better to paint that and then glue it in after. That goes on the lower hull, the floor part. Again, same mixture, the same PSI. That's that fan I was on about for the bulkhead. And I glue in as well. I use super glue when I'm gluing these parts in. Some parts I'll use the extra thin, but other parts I shall use super glue. These are the torsion bars. Again, it's the same colour. It's easy to paint them before you put them in. And I'm only painting the actual bar bit. The rest of it will be outside the tank. So that's how many I've got to do. Right, now here I'm actually fitting the bars. Straightforward. And when you glue them, just glue them on the one end, and in that way then they'll be workable then. You got the option of having them fixed or workable, but if you have the fixed option, it's only it's about ½ inch long, and it just sticks in, and then you glue it in and it's fixed then. But you didn't see me doing it, but off camera I actually drilled these holes out a little bit, because they are a bit tight because of the paint. So I've just gone through with a drill and just opened the holes out a little bit. They are easy to fit though, look. I make sure as well you get them the right way because they're sided. So you got one for one lot for one side and one lot for the other side. Right, now here's the floor. And I'm just showing you here there's 3 pins and then there's 3 holes on the floor. So you can't go wrong. And I actually use extra thing, so don't worry too much if it ruins the paint because you're not going to see it. It's lovely fit. And I think that pre-shading looks pretty good. But I'll do when I'll start the weathering once I've glued all the parts in. Right, here's me gluing parts on the engine. These parts are painted with that XF64. Again, I'm using the extra thing because you're not. It doesn't. If it makes a bit of a mess, you're not going to see. I masked them bits off at the top and painted them the same, the brown. These colours now, these parts I'm gluing on, are painted with the XF25. Again, the fit's lovely. Now these, I meant to rust these up before I put them in, but I forgot. But I do it. Because they're actually the exhaust. Right, so that's the engine dry. It's only dry fitted. That's the first aid box there. I've painted the ends of the driver's control levers black as well. And I used the rubber black, which is XF85. This is that compressor now. Again, that's the same colour, the XF25. Now this is the fire extinguisher. There's 4 altogether. And I primer these grey because the red will cover a bit easier on the grey. And these are shells. Again, I'm primering them grey. The grey I'm using is the MIG Ammo grey primer, one-shot primer. Okay, there's quite a few shells altogether. So that's all the ones, that's them all painted. That's just for the lower hull as well. There's some in the turret as well. So the colour I've chose is the gold leaf. Which is X12. So you just paint the main body of that, the gold, and then the ends will be like a grey colour. Okay, here I'm starting the filter now, and all I'm doing is using the oil brusher, which is Starship, and I'll thin it down with the MIG Ammo odorless thinner. Like I said, it's only a filter, so don't get too heavy, as you can see. And then the same, I'll do it all over. That's one of the fire extinguishers fitted there, and all that was XF7, which is red. When you're doing your filter, make sure you go up and down as well. So it does change it. It does change it a bit, the colour. Again, same with the floor. Make sure when you take the excess off your brush, all I've got is a bit of paper towel by the side, and I'll just take some off. And then just, like I say, it's only a filter, so you don't want to go too heavy. So that's just showing you the difference there. Right here now is this is me going to start the chipping now, and that's a Vallejo dark brown. And all I do is put a bit in my palette. There's nothing. There's no thinner or nothing in it. That's just a bit of sponge what you use to wash up with, and then dab off the excess, and then just chip away. But try and visualise where you'd think the chips would be. Like when they're taking the shells in and out of the racks, they'll get chipped there, and there's 3 shells got to be glued on there as well. So all I do is just go over all the raised details, just chipping away. Same here as well. Well, that's a good effect. I went a bit heavy on the end there, but luckily you don't see that anyway. Right, so here all my parts glued in now. There's the fire extinguishers, the shells. There's another fire extinguisher to put in there yet, but I've got to do that once the sides are fitted, because there's like 2 straps that go around them. You'll fit that first, then you'll fit the other extinguisher. And then again, where the 2 surfaces meet, I'll just run the knife around to scrape the paint off, just to make sure you get it dead flat. I did accidentally scrape the paint on the top shell. Well, I do touch that up, because they are a little bit tight, trying to push them through. So that's with the sides fitted. So that's all glued together now. The engine's in, everything's in now, and I didn't glue no bits on the side, because what I wanted to do was run some tape around, and then keep it all together, and then I just went around with the extra fin, gluing it all together. If you just take your time and make sure all the paint's scraped off, you'll have no problems. It'll be nice and square. Okay, now I'm actually starting to glue the parts on the outside now. The inside is nearly finished. I'd say it's about 95% finished. These are handed as well, so they'll only go on one way. And all I do is put the part on first, and then run the glue around it. And then once I've got it all the parts glued on the back, the front and the top, then you can start adding all your little parts. These here are a couple of wires. They're like a bit of wire. There's about 4 connection points on each one, but I find it easier wherever I can is to fit them first, and then when it dries, sand them down, because if you try and do them before that, they'll tend to snap. So all I did, like I said, just fit them, let that dry now, and then you can sand them down. A couple of more parts to glue on. You got one of these this side, and then there's one the other side, but that piping's only on the one side. If I'd have glued all these on first, like the instructions said, you'd have had problem taping it all up to glue it all together, and you got a good chance of knocking them off as well. This is the other side now. Just make sure you've got the right side, because on the one there's like a little peg that sticks out for a light. Right, we're starting the wheels now. They're keyed as well, so they'll only go on one way. And there's 4 parts to each wheel, so you put your 2 parts together, and then there's like a pin. It's there, I've just shown you there how it's keyed, and there's like a pin that goes through the middle, and then there's like a cap that goes on the end. So there, just run your glue around, find out where the peg is, and then line it up, and then you can't go wrong then. But there's a lot of sanding to do on them, but you got to be careful because there's like a pattern on the wheel, so you can't just sand it out because you'll lose the pattern. So that's the pin. Just push that through, and then just get a blunt instrument just to push it through. Make sure it's all the way home, because if it's not all the way through, you'll have problems fitting the wheels. That's your cap, and again there's a little pin on that, so it'll only go on one way. Just give it a little push through, run your glue around, and then fit the end cap thing. Okay, so that's it. There's 5 wheels each side. These are the sprockets, and again there's a peg you push through. Make sure it's all the way through, and then you got a little cap on the end again to glue in. Glue that on the end. And then when you glue the 2 halves together, then again there's like it's keyed again, so you can't get it wrong. But these, you got to make sure they're dead square, because if you don't, you'll struggle to get your tracks on. Your tracks will be on this not straight. But what I do, I cut a couple of tracks off when I've glued them together, and then put the tracks across just to make sure they fit. So there, you just glue there, and there's like I said, it's keyed, so you can't go wrong. But these are essential to get these right. You don't actually see me do it, but like I said, I'll just get a couple of pieces of track and just put them across just to make sure it's square. Okay, so that's the sprockets. Now these are the idler wheels. Push the peg in again, glue the cap on, and then you glue the 2 halves together. And again there's like a little pin, so it'll only go on one way, and this is keyed again the same. And then you got 2 of them. Which the fit's excellent. As long as you follow the instructions, you can't go wrong. I did, when I was fitting it together, I did skip a few steps, just because of all the little parts and that went on it. I didn't want to snap anything off. Now this is the front, I think it's the glacis plate, and there's three, I think it's 3 holes or 4 holes to glue on each side. Yeah, and then all I do is the size of the, I don't know what size drill bit it is, but I'll just make sure the drill bit's the same size of the holes that are there. And then there's the these now I'm fitting is the driver's pedals. And then this is all sprayed the interior colour then, and all you do then is paint the actual pedal bit. I'll do XF85. There's 2 clear parts to fit on the end. Well, I'll spray it all first and then fit them. This is part of the engine grill. You got four of one piece to fit, and then 1 of another piece. So make sure you get them in the right order. Well, that's it. They'll only fit one way as well. All you gotta do is make sure you get them in the right order. And then you can have them opened or closed. I went for the closed position.